Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're about to talk to Hillary. She is, I've already talked to her before. Y'all have seen her if you've been following my podcast. She's amazing. And today we're going to be talking about the dead. We're going to be talking about communing with our ancestors, the mysteries of the traditional modern world, traditional modern success. How do we access that success? How do we honor ourselves? How do we find our middle? How do we seek without abandoning the physical experience? And how do we take care of ourselves without losing ourselves? I'm really excited because we unpack while also still leaving some more mystery for tomorrow. So enjoy.
Good to see you.
Oh my God, it's so good to see you. I'm so excited we're doing this again. I am recording, by the way. I'm already recording because I feel like we've done this enough that I always feel regret when we don't start recording immediately.
Yes, I agree.
So done with the regret. Jumping right into it. I'm so happy to have you back, and I'm so happy to connect with you again. And I have to be completely honest. I'm like trying to hold myself back because I am so excited about talking to you because when I asked you, and you did excellent proactiveness and like asked me like, okay, what do we have anything in mind? Which was the exact right question. And I just wanted to know what has been on your mind, and the answers you came back with. I was just like, oh my God, there is perfect in the universe. Because that was like, it was like, when you're kind of like, I have a vision. And then you were like, this is it. And I was like, that's it. I was like, this is what that is.
I love that.
Yeah, it was really excellent. So yeah, I'm trying to hold back a little bit because I'm really excited to talk about what has been on your mind. And I even started reading the book, or as somebody did this to me, and I thought it was the most cleverest thing in the world. They said, I was like, do you like to read? And they were like, I like to read. And they pointed to their ear, and I was like, I understand. And so I have been reading. Yeah. I've been listening to the book that you've been reading. And I'm for sure positive that you're much further along than I am, but already I am so impacted by this book. So it doesn't have to be the center of what we talk about, but definitely, kind of a nice kicking off point if you wanted to. This book, tell us a little bit about it and what's been on your mind.
Yeah.
Also, hi.
I know, I'm noticing myself like I have a lot of energy right now and I'm wanting to just like so I'm trying to be grounded.
Exactly.
Yeah, my mom actually gave me this book too. And when you have a book for a while but you don't read it right away and there's just a reason why you gravitate towards it.
I have a shelf full of books like that. So just like for later.
And you grab it at just the right time. And this was one of those situations. And so it's called Take Back the Magic by Perdita Finn. And it's all about connecting with the dead and those that have passed and how they're there to help us. And that's, I guess, the most basic level. The book is really helping me see and feel how so much of what I might call a coincidence, or so like things that I think might have happened because the universe aligned or someone was looking out for me, but I'm not really sure. I'm just going to stop asking myself that question and stop saying that it was a coincidence and start saying, if that's what it feels like for me, that's what it is. Like, if it feels like someone just had my back, or like a guardian angel, um, or someone or something was sending me a message, or something happened for a reason, I'm just going to believe that, because this book says, and I've heard in other spaces that we as humans have conditioned ourselves to not listen to those things anymore, when our ancestors, that's what they tuned into and celebrated, was their intuition and their connectedness to the universe. And so
Yeah.
I would doubt myself, because I would have moments of being like, oh, no, you're just like trying to find a sign. And like, sure, I have my moments of just being, give me a sign.
Which we all are.
And I'll be like, you know that
Give
thing
me a
that just hit me?
sign.
Like, I think it must have been this. And it's like, well, I'm not going to also force meaning, right? Like, I just because, I don't know, someone in a blue shirt said hi to me doesn't mean I'm going to think about my, grandpa when he was wearing a blue shirt. Bad example, but
No, I actually think that's a great example, because let me just say real quickly.
yeah.
I think you're speaking on an experience that is super, and not to be hyperbolic, but like, I think it is the most common experience when you start to reignite, or even dabble in, or even like involuntarily start to become a seeker, which is essentially that, what they call in Hinduism, it's like to be a seeker is essentially like you're looking for and open to like the answers of the universe, essentially.
Mhm.
And I think it's really when we're opening ourselves up to just like that unknown within us and outside of us. And what you described, I think, is like the most common experience, which is looking for signs, or seeing something, thinking of something, or feeling something, and then immediately like that voice goes, don't be stupid.
Mhm.
I think we all have that. Don't be stupid. And
Be crazy.
I feel like, that example you gave is so perfect, because it can sound so stupid, right? When you say it out loud, you're like, it was a guy in a blue shirt.
Mhm.
But what does it ignite in you? And the example you gave is like just so profound, right?
Mhm.
That's, yeah. So I want to give that just a little space, because I think that it's, one, super common, and two, also an opportunity to validate, which, yeah,
So true.
yeah. So I just
Yeah.
want to give you that validation right now.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a reminder of like meaning making, and just like, and I like that word. I feel like I've been trying to find balance with that word, seeking, because I haven't, because kind of in light of our last conversation and sort of being able to choose my next move, I've been really not wanting to force something. Like,
Mm,
I've been seeking without forcing, like trying to make something happen that doesn't feel aligned. But I also don't,
mhm.
and I also want to be active in that process. And so yeah, I really have just resonated with this idea of like, yeah, what's meant for you will be for you, and it will, you know, if you are open, it will find your way to you and you will find your way to it. Um, and just like, yeah, seeing the way that everything is connected and that everything is so intentional in the world has been a huge takeaway from this book, and has been something I've kind of just like superimposed onto my life. Like, I don't want to question my um yeah, question the meaning that I give things, or the meaning I attach to something that I go through.
Yeah. It's like, feels like two things come to mind. One is that self-validation
Mm-hmm.
and recognizing when you feel connected to something.
Right.
And also, I mean, you said balance. And I was talking to a master astrologer, and we were just kind of talking on like what balance means. And he said in Buddhism, they talk about like the middle, and how the truth is always somewhere in the middle. And I love how even in that, it's super um, subjective, right? Because we all have our own reference point of what is extreme one way or the other. And so by nature, like we are the only ones that can navigate towards our middle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's a scary place to be, you know, trying to navigate absolutely, you know, especially when you're, you know, you can on the on with optics, right? You can be considered someone who's independent, who's, you know, brave and courageous, someone who takes the helm, someone who's able to, you know, but you can also be somebody who's very much seeking the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
and still does want some form of validation ultimately, like, yes, this is correct, keep
Mm-hmm.
going. And that's such a scary place to be, because you're constantly fighting, you're constantly in a push and pull of the unknown and trusting your intuition. The unknown and trusting your intuition. And it literally can feel like a battle of inches, you
Mm-hmm.
know, forward and backward and forward and backward. And you can say, okay, I feel propelled, and it takes you 10 inches forward, and then can immediately be overwhelmed with, okay, all the things that can go wrong. How is this the wrong thing? And completely lose sight of that sense of purpose that you had when you first felt that vision feel clearly, and just grasp and just feel like you're grasping at straws almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I relate to that feeling. And like, and that's another piece too, is like, I hear that as the push and pull between our our intuition, our sense of self and being, and external forces. So like, I have these deep inclinations that I'm starting to learn, or I like identifying as maybe pieces of my soul, and what my soul, the lives that my soul has lived. Like, I'm inclined to certain things and attracted to certain things in the world because of things I've gone through and that, you know, transcend this life. And if that's not one's cup of tea, then it's like you have certain inclinations and places that your intuition is bringing you. And naturally there are just things outside of us. We have to tend to our homes, our families, pay bills, do all the administrative stuff, like pay taxes and sign up for school and like get continuing education units for your licensure of whatever, social work in this case. Like just all these things that
Literally, all the minutia of
take you
real
out
life.
of here. Yeah. Just take you out of like this soulful being. Those are the things that me, like, they bring. Sometimes I give so much, it feels so heavy to me that it does take me back a number of inches or maybe even a foot. And it takes a lot of coming back to. And like, I think I did this last time. This is just like my motion for this of like moving out the minutia. Find my way out of the minutia and to like my essence, back to my essence. And like, I have these, my daydreams right now are things that won't be help, like, will be challenging for our family financially, right? If I were to pour time into them, it would require sacrifice. And I don't know if I can do that right now. And like, I daydream about teaching yoga and I daydream about being a Spanish teacher. I know I can do those things
Wow.
in some capacity right now. And in addition to having a like full-time therapy practice, and I'm like, and raising a family and taking care of myself. And so it's just like so much. But I do like the essence of thinking about myself in those roles too, or having those be a part of my life and just like what would that mean for me? Um, and it does feel like either stop and go or go and then go backwards. So I feel you.
It feels like I love this because this is something that I, in my own spiritual journey, is someone who went like all the way in, was
Mhm.
a working psychic, spiritual guide, channeler, multi-dimension seer, whatever you want to call it. Still don't know what to call it, but I was doing some spooky stuff for a while and was doing that like basically full time. And I was in this multiverse of the semi-intangible, um, and threw myself all the way in. And in a way, lost myself in the process, I'll admit, because in a strange way, I was telling a client, I said, we all want to ascend. We all want this, when you're on this sort of spiritual journey, there's this sort of marketed concept of ascension, right? Which is like peak spirituality and oneness. And I said, I'll be completely honest. I said, I felt nirvana and it was amazing. And it was void of all attachment and it was perfect and peaceful. And I would be there and I could get there. And I was able to access it frequently. But I'll be honest. It was boring.
Oh,
Which is wild
so
to say.
intrigued.
It's so wild to say. Yeah. And
So cool. I mean,
when
cool,
you talked about like, what's that?
it's just so interesting to hear that.
Yeah. And I think it's because of what you said, right? Like we are living a physical experience. We're living a real experience. And I think when the soul is starved, you are thirsty, right? But in the same regard, when the body is starved, right? The body needs to move. And there's that saying, right? Like we are souls living a physical experience.
Right.
And I think that is the right way to look at it, is that we are souls living a physical experience, and we need that balance.
Yeah.
And finding that middle is like, and more specifically, finding our middle
Right.
is like the most powerful thing that we can do. And I think it's what we intuitively are striving for, is trying to find our middle without losing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll admit, I mean, I think I only really sort of the concept of losing myself was because of the external sort of factors that made me doubt myself, that made me feel like, is this my community? Is this not my community? Because in all aspects, we're still human. And so
Right.
what happens in all organizations and all, there's personalities, there's unhealthy egos, there's, all this stuff that you're still trying to work through because we're still human.
Yeah.
And that was actually what I really resonated with in Perdita's book, was it's all centered around her relationship with her father.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's such a human, it's the thing that anchors us most to remembering how human we are, is like our attachments, the like the stuff that we haven't found peace in ourselves with, and how that influences how we move through the world, or how it influences how we just interact with those people.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can be totally segmented off, but then when it comes to these people, we just have these major blockages.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought how amazing. I loved how she, her father, she's this very, I don't want to oversimplify it, but she has a very conflicting relationship with her father. He's a very specific type of personality, a very specific type of vibe, very anti-spirituality, very anti-anything intangible, very anti-anything ambiguous. He's a surgeon, or was, right? And he ends up passing away. And this is, after he's already started another family, or marries again, and leaves all of his original children out of the will. Like, she sets it up so, like, again, there's so much human in this experience. It's like, we're going to talk about communing with our ancestors and this beautiful concept of what spirituality is, but grounds it in this very real experience of what it means to be human and have stuff. And that is, I think, what can keep a lot of us from, and also propel us, right, into wanting to go towards our ancestors, right? But then when it's somebody who has passed that we have conflict with, right? We love to romanticize our ancestors as like these perfect humans with all this perfect knowledge.
Yeah.
But then when somebody who we're like dies, we're like, how do we integrate experience and this feeling into the wider expansiveness of this philosophy that I'm trying to carry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love that. And she writes these letters to him as she's on this experience and on this journey of reconnecting with spirit and the dead.
Mm-hmm. And like, right, having her dad be a part of that, like bringing him into the practice and the
Yeah.
community of those who had passed that she connects with. And I just am so grateful for this reminder right now of like how this is all linked, because the human part of can be so infuriating sometimes. And it felt like I was literally saying to you, that's holding me back. Being human is just holding me back. and and I'm like, no,
Which is very real.
yes. And like why I'm so attracted to all of to this book is that like in your humanness, you're getting signals and reminders of the connectedness of everything and your path and your soul's journey, and the little things that help you know that, and even significant things that help you know that this human experience is significant, and each part of it is intentional, and that you're not alone at any part of it. And that even when someone's passed that you have, a challenging history with, that you can actually continue that relationship, and you might be surprised by
Yes.
how, because the dead only want to help is part of her messaging, and how you can continue to have that
Right.
experience or maybe be held and seen by that person in a way you never thought after they've passed.
Yes. I love it. I love it so, so much. I love that concept
Yeah.
that, the relationship doesn't end when the dead die. Um, I think it's through my own experience in working with the dead and with all types of energies, just realizing like any conflicts that I have to figure them out now because they won't go away when people pass. And I think it's a very human experience. When you have conflict, you're kind of like, well, we even do it with people that we don't know, but we don't like, right? Celebrities or whatever. I mean, think of Hitler. He's died and we're still unpacking that. There's no, the being dead and the concept of death does not actually end anything. And she has this, I really hope I can find it. She has this amazing, amazing quote in her book, and it's literally it's at the end of the first letter
Mm.
that she writes to her father, and she basically says something along the lines of, oh, do I have it? Pull it up, and I'm gonna cut this gap out as I try to find it. She says, so it's at the end of the first letter that she writes him. She says, and this is once he's passed. And she says, I am inviting them to come and sit beside you at the shore and welcome you home. I am inviting them to help you remember who you really are. Death isn't oblivion. It's the great remembering.
Mm-hmm.
I pray to the dead to help me remember who I am while I'm still alive.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the most succinct way, I truly believe that that is why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
That in our consciousness and in this equality of time and space, that we are tasked to work through stuff
Mm-hmm.
and remember who we are, who came before us, and that remembering is just a vehicle for us to ultimately unpack and find and connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that has the potential to shift our relationship to death quite a bit. There's even like kind of a I don't know, maybe it's just in the subcultures that I'm, learning about, but midwifery and supporting people in their last days, kind of another form of hospice, like spiritual hospice. I'm a midwife to a death midwife.
Death doulas.
Yeah, death doulas.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like that was so intriguing to me when I learned about that because it's a different kind of birth. Death is a different kind of birth.
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm.
Or another kind of birth, I should say. And that life is so precious and it will be taking a different form. That soul will be occupying another form, whether it's a human or something else. Yeah, in a day and age where I'm seeing a lot of people struggle with knowing what their purpose is or what the meaning of all of this suffering is. That line that you read does shed light on how we can get a little bit closer to what feels like alignment. And it's different for everyone, right? But what feels aligned for you in this life, not just a huge milestone and the typical milestones of, the human experience, but like what's a milestone for you? What feels right for you? It just makes me think about how we always come back, like not always, because it's different for everyone, but things come back in cycles. Like these things that like our ancestors celebrated, like if you open yourself up to it, like these things are having like more people are wanting to understand and be connected as opposed to, ridiculing and judging and criminalizing things that our ancestors have done. Even women.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we would have been burned at the stake having this conversation like maybe 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Or not 100.
Yeah. I mean, I love how, not very long ago, considering how.
Oh my God, 100 years ago was the 1920s.
So right around the corner. Yeah, literally. It was so funny. This is a super, super side quest, but it's kind of hilarious. And I'm not shaming anybody who follows organized faith or whatever. I say or whatever. I mean that respectfully, but any organized faith trying to be all inclusive or whatever. Um, and I was talking to her, and we were talking about another mom who's pregnant with her third. And the woman I'm speaking to is devout Christian, traditional, um, traditional follower of Christ, and that's not to say here or there, just more sort of setting the stage for the tone of like the reception for what I ended up saying to her, which I thought was hilarious. And I don't know if she thought it was funny or not, probably not. But we're talking about this mom, and I was trying to remember if she was having a boy or a girl, and she already has two girls. And I said, I think she's having a girl because I remember being like, wow, when she told me the gender and just being like, oh my goodness, and she was like, oh my goodness, three girls. And I go, yeah, that's almost a coven. And I just start cackling, laughing. And in my self-aware fighting the awkwardness, like looking like the awkwardness right in the face, I'm just maintaining complete eye contact with her as I'm cackling, going, I don't know. I don't know how you're going to receive that, but it's true. And then later I was like, well, actually, technically it would be a coven because mom, that's four. But, but yes, it exists in the modern culture of this fear. And I love how Perdita even laid it out in the book, saying there were some villages that were left with no women.
Yeah.
No women were left because they killed them all.
Yeah.
Because they killed them all. Because why? Because they were praying. And the way she phrases it is so poetic, right? She's like, there was no one left. There was no one left to pray to the dead. There was no one left to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in these cycles, we will always follow our way around.
Right.
And regardless of where we are, we'll always be working our way onto the next phase that works us onto the next phase, to the next phase, until we're at 180, that will then work us back. And the fact that this is happening not just on a macro scale, but on a micro scale with ourselves as well, and in our own circles, in our own subcultures, in our own nuclear families, in our own immediate family. I mean, there's just so many cycles that are happening that I think it makes sense why in this modern era where we're at least in this cycle, where we're so in the information age and where we're at with the economy and where we are politically and geopolitically and all these things, that we have a generation of people who are just they're just completely exposed. They feel completely exposed, and they feel like they're in a waiting period of catastrophe.
Yeah.
It makes sense because there's so much. I think at every generation, and just the one thing that, while is not cyclical and just continues to increase, is the macro self-awareness of humanity. And as that awareness continues to expand and the layers continue to expose themselves, of course we have a generation of young adults now who just feel completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Completely overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's so much access to information. Yeah, we're not wired to be able to have this much information of like just literally what's going on, like, or I should say awareness of what's going on, like if we think about what, the maybe the world was like or what our tribes were like, thousands of years ago. They just knew what was going on in their really close radius.
Right.
And so we're overwhelmed.
Yeah. I
There's so
wonder
much.
if that's. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, just saying there's so much possibility of like what you could learn about, what you could do, what rabbit holes you can fall down. And it can be a far journey away from self. There's these rabbit holes
Yes.
too. I've learned a lot of stuff in these rabbit holes also. So I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that we like benefit from having a clear path back to self and like a groundedness of being in community, learning about the happenings, gaining this awareness from our community and our neighbors. Um,
Yes.
the old-fashioned way
Yeah.
too.
I think that, yeah, to that point, I feel like that is the cycle that's happening, is that the only way to integrate so much information is to, instead of organizing it, it's like a pool of water. You cannot find yourself. I'm sure there's like a really cool haiku or something that could more properly express this in a more profound, emotional, and spiritual way. But it's like you can't bring the pool to you drop by drop
Right.
and then find yourself in a pool. And I think that we're coming out of an expansive era where we have tried and have been doing a great job of just putting numbers and zeros and ones on everything and extrapolating so much micro data that now there is so much data. How do we integrate with this data? At a certain point, we can only just trust our intuition, right? And trust to open and start exercising that intuition to simply dive into the water
Right.
and allow it to integrate with us, as opposed to creating such organized systems, which also speaks to the organized systems of man that have always been created. Even when we were tribal people in small communities, we always have created systems, right? We've always created the sense of order and how do we organize so that we can be more efficient, so that we can grow, so that we can prosper, so that we can be productive. And I think that we're reaching this max peak potential. And obviously we don't know what we don't know, but it feels so getting to the point of overwhelming in terms of data potentiality that we are forced to now integrate more and more with what in a language and a word can be described as our spirituality,
Yeah.
right? How do we open ourselves without needing all the data, all the information? It goes back to this concept of like, you don't know what you don't know, and you're not meant to know everything, but you are meant to be open. We
Yeah.
are meant to be open and to receive
Mhm.
instead of taking, right? And data organization is kind of this act of taking. What am I taking away from this? What am I taking away from this? What am I taking away from this? And instead, it's forcing us to be more in a place of receipt. And in order to be in a place of receipt, you have to, there's no other way. You have to be open.
Yeah. 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 And receiving's really hard. Like, it's just because you're surrendering. and I feel like there is a sense of over control right now, to do all the human stuff, be all the things, know all the things. I think maybe we touched on surrender in our last conversation too. And so it's just really like, you know, it's really landing with me hearing you say all of this, that naturally coming back. I feel really grateful to have that into that sense, that felt sense of like that feels like the right space for me to be moving in or direction for me to be moving into because I feel overwhelmed. I can easily feel overwhelmed by everything. And so coming back to my spirituality is this like radical form of surrender and saying yes to what's happening in here and saying like, well, what are my feelings about that? How does that land with me? What do I think? Yeah, so that I don't lose myself in this data.
Yeah. I'll even put it through the lens of modern success, we'll call it. Um, which is, what do we define modern success as now? It's wealth and stability ultimately. And even when it comes to people who are through a modern lens considered successful, you whenever they put out interviews or publications or autobiographies, there's this through line of honoring themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a place in where, and I mean, it is all coexisting now, right? It always is. There's always some weird sense of balance happening in the universe. But I do see how, even if you wanted to still attain traditional modern success, that's an oxymoron, but you know what I'm saying? Dude, there's still this sense of, right? How do I access that? And it's through myself. It's through honoring my sense of purpose and my sense of what makes sense to me and what my value systems are and finding my middle. And I think that that's how you cut above the bureaucracy, and that's how you cut above the rules. And because what is system always but a way to organize the masses?
Yeah.
And if we are to be successful, then we have to rise above that system always and ask ourselves the questions that create difficult conversations in us. And when we're lost in that, to remind ourselves, I'm having a difficult conversation with myself, and that in and of itself is success.
Yes.
That's leading me somewhere.
That is, thank you for saying that so beautifully. That is the, like really, truly the essence of the work that I do with people. Like I literally just came out of a session with someone that was like, I feel like I was too reactive in a situation. And I was like, well, hold on. I kind of feel like that was great. I was like, I'm proud of you for getting angry. Like, I kind of feel like that's a part of the work here, not in any way in an abusive sense. Like,
Of course.
felt misaligned for that person as they were talking to me. I was like, I hear the misalignment. And can we say that this is a stop? Like, your journey, you're on a bus. This is a stop. You can get back on the bus and keep going forward, learning from this. And like, I was like, because look, there's a lot of systemic pieces here that are telling you that that was bad. And so let's be with all of it right now. Like that's very I resonate so much with everything that you just said. Like we're humans in a system, and what else? Like what else are you?
Sit with all of it.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you, Hillary. This was, I love it. I love how we like were able to unpack and also simultaneously let mysteries also be mysteries in some way, but also like find some peace with those mysteries,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and leave some more mysteries for tomorrow.
Yeah. We got plenty of them.
Yeah. You got plenty of them. Exactly. Oh, you're awesome. Thank you so much for joining me again. I can't wait to see you again because I know that, you
Yeah.
know, it's always like a beautiful walk through a gorgeous garden mountainside. Just being able to talk to you and commune with you. You're amazing. I love you
You're
so much.
amazing. I love you too. Thanks for inviting me always and for your presence. You're really amazing.